Okay, guys, so we'd like to welcome you guys to this episode of On the Couch at Hookit at the studio inside the Hookit store. Myself, Ibrahim, and we've got Lance, our collab partner from Hook and Grill. And we're going to introduce you guys, to our guest here today, very special and honored guest of ours, somebody we deal with on a regular basis. And this is Colin. Colin is the rep for Sensation Angling. Colin, welcome very much.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being in our podcast studio. You know, we're still very young and raw to it. So the podcast today is about sensational angling. It's one of the suppliers in the fishing tackle fraternity, and they host a wide range of products. But for us to have the products on the shelf is one thing, but to get more insight on the product is another thing, and that is why Colin is here today to basically advocate for the product and the different levels of the product cost and why it's costed at that and where it finds itself in the market. Colin, we're going to ask you a whole ton of questions here.
I'm sort of expecting this, yes.
Yeah. So what's going to happen with this questioning is it's very simple. You know your product. You walk into store, you sell us your product, and you tell us why we should buy your product. Right. So Lance is going to have a couple of questions here as well. Let's go.
So firstly, for the people who don't know, Sensation Angling, they have many brands under the umbrella basically. So maybe we can start off with that, just to mention a couple, because obviously people know. So for example, like your LB, things like that, people don't know. Okuma, people don't know what's under your umbrella. So maybe you can just mention some names or some brands under your
Yeah, we can most probably start off with Sensation as a brand on its own. When the company started, it was developed from scratch. So that's where the Sensation name came from.
Okay.
You know, all the new developments they did in rods, and they built it from there, and they built into lures, and so you'll have a Sensation lure which is specifically made for us.
Okay.
Obviously, it's most of the things, like we know, comes from China, and the company grew from there. It sort of went from one to the next, and then things like LB got added, links got added, the landed hooks got added, and so the company grew and grew. And one of our main brands now obviously would be Okuma.
Okuma, yeah.
Having that in our stable, and it's been a nice partnership with them because they're so open when it comes to developments and changes and whatever. So it's been a nice.
Now, of course, I'm a big fan of Okuma.
It's a big part of our business.
Yeah.
And then obviously Boss Braids and all sorts of things came with it, and the list goes on and on,
Yeah.
between Eagle
That is
Claw
quite a lot.
and BKK, and your Hayabusas, and you can carry on from there.
So quite big
There's
names.
quite a bit
Quite
going
big
on,
names.
yes.
So Colin, I'm going to tell you, let's just start here. So Okuma is one of your brands. Now I'm going to tell you, I had a Precision 14 foot. I love the rod. And unfortunately, what happens with me is that when I have something of my own and people see me fishing with it, many occasions people say, yeah, but you fishing with that rod, we want one. So I had my Precision and I loved it, and I swore this is a rod I'm going to keep for a while. Customer walks in and he says, Ibi, the one that you have, man. And I said, yeah, here's my rod, feel it. So I always let the customer feel what it's like and those type of things. And he said, right, he's buying it. So I took a new one off the shelf. He says, no, I want your one, because it's a lucky one, right? So in any case, nonetheless, the guy paid me for the rod, and I thought, let him have it. And then I bought myself the Okuma Euphoria. Now, I had a small problem the weekend with the Euphoria. I love it. So I set up my bait. I do this cast, brilliant cast. I could feel, my bait is laying on the right spot. And I walk away from the rod, and I'm about 30, 40, 50 meters away from the rod. And I have a glow stick up there because it was night fishing, and I saw the rod go down. And I'm talking about, you went down. And I'm about 30, 40 meters away from them, and I'm 49 years old, and I chased to get to that rod. By the time I got there, the fish was off. So I tried to figure out what's wrong with this rod. But what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna start by, where were you fishing? What lines were you using? What were you hooked up to?
I'm going to tell you, the thought that came to my mind was 50 meters away. I ran in boots, man. Yeah.
Okay, but you also said that you're 49, so that took about 8 minutes.
Yeah. So that's what we're saying. So I figured out, it's not the rod, eh? But I'm going to tell you something. We had a discussion earlier, and we're going to touch on that, on how it is that you guys came about your type of rod. You explained to me those type of things. And that is something I'd like you to share with our audience, because our business thrives on feeling new anglers coming in. And it's difficult to explain to them what suits them well. But besides that, we would like you to explain to us exactly. Let's touch on that euphoria rod, or your precisions that, like, explain to me. For example, you guys would get a rod, and your research and development would happen there before that rod is finally finished for the market.
Yes.
Can you give us a bit of info on that?
So how it normally works is the bigger manufacturers, they'll develop a rod and sort of send it down to their agencies all over the world saying, please sell this rod. What's nice about Okuma is in the relationship we have with them from South Africa is they actually allow us to send them a rod and say, this is what we're after.
Okay.
Okay, this is the guide setup we need. This is the blank setup we need. The sort of feel. What do we want to do with this rod?
What is that based on though? How do you go based on
Our fishermen.
fishermen?
Yeah, so
Reference.
if you develop one rod, let's say you develop rod number A, 3 months down the line, you see, okay, we could have done this better.
Okay.
You know, we could have made this a little bit softer or a little bit harder, whatever. And that rod develops from there. It sort of grows. So precision was one, for an example. Euphoria grew out of that.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure for the future, and I'm there's exciting stuff coming. So there's some new things coming already, which we're going to make some changes on.
Okay,
You know, which
that's perfect.
which I can't speak about right now, but
Of course.
the future is going to be interesting.
Pity.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's the nice part from the fisherman side to us. We listen, we speak to a lot of guys. You get a lot of feedback from retail stores, which they would say, this rod feels too stiff or too soft or
Okay.
whatever. And then we'll feed that back up.
Okay, so
And-
you don't go based on. So you give them your idea, they make the rod, they send it down. So there's no testing in between
There's,
But
there's obviously
on
testing
their end or on your end as well.
on both sides. You know,
Before sending it to the market.
before market reaches it, I mean, they've done the extensive tests
Okay,
on
cool.
Okuma side as well.
Oh, that's
yeah,
perfect.
they'll be testing on that. You can't just send something out,
Oh, that's what I'm
especially
thinking.
something like a fishing rod.
Yeah, because I mean, a survey won't help. Then it's too late. You already bought the rod.
it's done. Yeah,
Yeah.
and when manufacturing comes, there's thousands in production. You know, you can't make
Of
a
course.
change then, so you've got to make
Yeah,
it up
understand.
front. Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
obviously the development happens there.
So Colin, the thing is, so while we're on the rods, right? I know, and this is a product you're very familiar with because that is a Fuji Fazlight guide, and we use them quite extensively in our workshop. So you spoke about the shape of that guide. Give us a bit of info because
Yeah, I'm going to give you a bit of info about Fuji.
okay,
Okay, so there's 4 ranges in Fuji which we focus on. There's an alkanite guide, then there's the Fazlight second in the range. There's a SICK guide, which is a silicone infused guide, and then there's a Tortsite, which
Okay.
is their top end stuff.
right,
Now, not to get too technical about this, Fuji does micro bending on their guides. Okay, so there's no cut and weld.
That's what it looks like, guys.
carry on.
There you go.
So they'll do a system called micro bending on their guides, and so there's no welding and that sort of thing in here. There's no, everything is one piece basically.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so when your insert goes in, now you've got options of a price point. A price point will be alkanite would start it out. That would be an almost round guide. I'm not talking outside, I'm talking inside now. And that's purely for line lay going through there. So if it's taking up too much abrasion going across here, it actually kills your line and it kills your braid. It
Okay.
slows down your cast
Okay,
and you're losing distance out of it. And this is Fuji's main focus.
okay,
But when you move up to Fazlight, it's not as round anymore, it becomes flatter and softer.
okay,
And then in silicone, the SICK guides, which like the guys know them, it's much smoother.
okay,
And then Tortsite is their top end one. And this is purely for performance.
okay.
All right. And they go through extensive, and there's a lot of things on YouTube you can check about Fuji. But the one thing you struggle to find is how Fuji gets made, because they really, that's their thing.
Yeah, of course.
Now imagine that on a rod.
Yeah.
The amount of development that's gone into this. How many is on a rod? You would know.
7 plus 1. We always say 7 plus 1, which is 7 guides plus your tip.
Okay, so you got 8 guides running with this sort of a development, inserts, that sort of thing. And doing microbending obviously takes a lot longer to do
Yeah.
than with just tack welding and fixing
course.
things together.
Yeah.
And this
Okay,
is
so that's one piece.
that's one of the
piece that-
components, one of the most important components that will determine the price of a rod.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if I have a generic guide on there, the rod price is obviously affected.
Yeah.
That's the one part. The other part is this weighs nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you buy generic things, they obviously weigh a lot more. Put 8 of it, it changes the blank fuel.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So there's a lot of info that goes into a guide, a lot of tech that goes into
Lot of tech.
a rod as well.
Yes.
So like I say, a rod is defined by the price of the rod is defined by, besides the blank of the rod, the components that goes on there.
Very much so.
So, and of course, the Okuma Euphoria has got a beautiful butt. We just don't have mine here today, but it's got a very smart EVA on there as well, camera style. So, Colin, right, so now we've got our rod. Let's move on to the reels. Now, I'm going to tell you my personal thing. That in the Okuma range of reels, one of our top sellers was our Azores.
Yes.
For one reason or the other. I know it comes with the 20 kg drag system. And then the next one that was a major seller for us, and this major bang for buck, is the Metalloid as well.
Yeah.
So now you can give us a bit of information between the Azores and the Metalloid. Where does our differences come in?
I'm actually going to jump from Azores to as Metalloid as being sort of old.
Okay,
and go straight into where the Selena is now.
okay. So Selena's your new one on the market.
Selena is the new kid on the block. That and the Tesoro.
Okay,
Tesoro is the first reel we've actually had that there's a seal in it.
okay.
So it's got an IPX7 water rating on it as well. So Tesoro at this stage we'll have that's our sort of top rock and surf reel. Because it's got a sealant in it. The Selena follows that, and then Azores after that.
Okay.
So all of them got dual force drags in, which means it comes from both sides. It keeps your drag smoother. Okay, so when you're under pressure, you've got a bit of a roll. So obviously with everything, it upgrades on little things, but that influences the cost of the reel. If you put a seal into a reel, okay, it costs more putting a seal in, sealing the body off, than what it would cost to add 3 more bearings. You understand what I'm saying? Because the R&D that goes with that seal it takes much longer. It's a whole different process. Okay, so Azores, great reel. We've been selling hundreds of them.
Yeah,
so
I'm a user myself. I think our whole fishing crew, we basically all have Azores.
I'm still stuck on the previous model. I've got the previous model still in my garage. It still runs fine. Is the thing. The main thing is, and I say this to everybody, take a moment and look after everything.
Yeah.
If you pay 50,000 rand for a reel, makes no difference. You got to clean it. You got to take a moment to take care of your equipment.
Yeah.
And that goes for your fast light guides, which is on your Euphoria. That goes for your precision reel seat. Clean that out. Make sure it's nice, because the saltwater is not friendly.
Of course.
It wants to destroy everything.
Right. So I'm going to tell you that our biggest recorded, we always look at stats of what sells in our store, and our biggest recorded reel selling in our store, besides your low end reel, is the Okuma Azores. Brilliant reel.
I'm very happy to hear that.
It is. We've actually had one guy with us where we pulled a 34 kilo dusky off the reefs on that exact 8,000 Azores. So it's a reel that we sell with confidence. And the reason that we're doing this today, that the guys can see the product, and we'd like to thank you again for coming, Colin, because for you to sit here and on camera advocate for your product, it should mean something out there to the guys. So in the Sensation range of products, it is an awesome range of products. So we've now gone from the reel. Now we're going to go to the braid, right? So our common selling braid, especially for the rock and surf guys, is a minimum of 40 pound, and 50 pound is where we're at. And I'm not talking about the shark anglers. I'm talking about your guys that do chasing fish like mussel cracker, cob, Steenbras. And then of course we have guys that go lighter tackle, 30 pound, and then the guys that do a bit of estuary fishing, they are in the 20 pound.
Yeah, 10, 15, 20 pounds
15, 20
range,
pound and lower. So we've got here in front of us, and I'll show you guys the boxes right now. We've got 3 different braids, and I'm going to tackle you on that one. You need to tell me about these braids. So let's start off with the slick braid. And then we'll move on.
I'm actually going to throw it back at you in a different way.
Okay, let's hear this.
So if you look at any, and I'm most probably saying this and everybody knows this, I'm just repeating this because this is important. If it's an 8-time braid, do people really understand what that means? There's carriers and fibers in braid. So a fiber forms a carrier, and the carriers become 8. So you've got 8 weaves in your braid. Basically. Okay. Braid prices, I'll get to these now. Braid prices get determined on the quality of that fiber. Okay, what goes in there. And there's a gel layer in every braid when they weave them, otherwise it gets too hot and it will cut itself off. Okay, so that plays a role in this. So where you get your fibers from plays a role. So there's different levels in braid. I mean, you can pick up a box of braid. I've seen them in the shops. They're over $1,600
Sure.
for a spool, and there's a reason for it. I'm never negative to those things because I understand the process how these
Exactly.
things get made.
Like the gel pot, I didn't even.
If you think about how braid gets woven, I can't remember the exact yardage it gives you, but it's very close to, doing almost in a whole machine, doing little pieces of braid per day, sort of thing. So this thing runs 24 hours, constantly, and it's weaving. That's all it's doing.
It's weaving,
It's
yeah.
weaving. And it crosses over and reverses, and it goes nuts. But it's making little pieces of braid at a
So it's
time.
like plaiting.
It's almost like plaiting. Yeah, it's actually very close to
Yeah.
plaiting. If you look at that machine in slow motion and you pull that braid flat, you're there.
Yeah.
So I don't know when last you plaited your hair, but it's the same process. So if you take these three, the Whisper, the Slick, and the HP, there is a distinct difference between them.
Just back on that, when it says 8 times, so it means it's 8.
8 carriers. in
8
there.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So if you want to go for something that suits your wallet instead of suits your fishing, because in economic times we are in now,
Yeah.
your wallet plays a big part in how you buy your tackle. A four times would be obviously cheaper because there's less fiber in there. All right, but you'll also get 50% of the life out of that braid.
Okay.
All
So it doesn't only mean that because it's 8 that the braid will be thicker.
Not necessarily. No, it depends on the fiber that goes in. So we can do this on another day. This takes forever to do, but there's 2 avenues here. You can go to a Spectra or a Dyneema braid. All right, the Spectra braid will always be a little bit thicker, but the carriers are a bit thicker as well. So, but it's also rated as most probably a better feeling line.
Okay.
But the pricing is phenomenal. Okay, so Dyneema braids, the most popular braids currently, because we can do them at a certain price point.
Sorry to break your word. What I'd like to tell you is that I thought I knew it all.
No,
I feel dumb.
I'm glad.
I can actually show you.
I'm glad.
I'm telling you.
I should have shown you a video about how this braid gets onto the weaving machine and how it works.
And maybe we can just add it on.
That stops you for a moment to think, but no wonder these things cost what they cost, because just the time, that goes in there is insane.
So I'm telling you now. I'm looking at you here with teary eyes because I feel dumb just thinking about braid and everything else that goes in there. I've got a whole new respect for braid.
Okay, can I make it worse for you?
Oh no, I know.
Okay. So Whisper braid is the braid without a Teflon coating. So when you cast the braid, you always hear it go through your guides.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a coating over that braid.
Okay.
Oh.
So that in the Slick braid, it says on the box Teflon. So there's a Teflon coating over it. That gives you an extra resistance on the line. It gives you a smoother feel, but it's noisy.
Okay.
Okay, because you're going to hear it go through the guides. The Whisper braid does not have that
Is
Teflon
that like
coating.
a shiny coat that you will normally see?
You can
On
see the shiny
yeah,
coat,
like a
yes,
shiny
and if
coat
you
on
really
the-
spend time with it, you can actually get your
Yeah.
nail underneath it. And that's with most braids, you'll have some sort of coating over
Okay.
it. You have to. Whisper braid doesn't have that coating. That's why it's called Whisper. It goes quiet.
Oh, okay. Makes
Okay.
sense.
So for your lighter fishing and that sort of thing, it works perfectly. But I've had a lot of success with the guys in 40 pound and 50 pound as well. They prefer that to the other braids. It's a personal choice in the end.
Yeah.
All right.
That's something I didn't know as well. Do you feel dumb again?
That's the one part. So let's take it a step up here. So that's no Teflon. That one, the Slick has got Teflon coating over it. And then HP braid is a high pitch braid. So when they weave and plait braids, they do it per inch. Okay, so the more stitches you put into an inch, the more fibers there are. Okay, the Boss braid to the HP braid, there's more stitching, tighter weave into the HP braid than what there is in the Slick. Okay.
People, this is Kwai braid. Nah, this is Kwai braid. Nah,
So
I'm gonna give an order for more.
so what higher pitch does and more stitching does, it actually forms the braid to be rounder, becomes
Yeah.
easier to cast.
So you guys know normally when you come into any store and you guys will just see braid. There's obviously different brands of braid. So you come in here, okay, Boss braid, I want Boss braid. You look at your poundage basically, and
Correct.
that's what you go with. You don't think of the Whisper braid, the
HP braid,
HP
or whatever
braid and
goes
things like
with
that.
it,
So just to be a bit more technical, now you guys can look out for what you actually want and try out different braids.
we must do a show about talking about what's monofilament and what's copolymer,
We can.
which takes you another afternoon to do, because there's a big difference in that as well.
Would you guys like to hear a quick breakdown of that? I think there's a quick breakdown.
I feel dumb today.
Yeah,
I think
do you wanna?
we'll do that on a different
Yeah, sure.
one because that's
Is
quite
that you saying you wanna come back on
yeah,
another
I'll come
episode?
back. It's quite interesting to go through all of that.
Colin, so thank you very much. That breakdown on the Braid gives us insight. So when we do have somebody walking in the store, that we can give them that difference. Now we've been to the rod, we've been through the guides, we've gone onto our Braid, we've gone into our reels, and we're going to be putting some pics up about that Selena that you spoke and the Thesaurus on this video as well. Now,
Are you going to the hooks?
yeah,
I have one question.
ask.
Seeing that we're going to the hooks, guys, this is just something
I hope I can answer
I
this.
couldn't wait to ask you. Obviously, as we know, people normally go after the brands, after the prices. In their mind, the higher the price, the better the quality. But something that I've noticed, and I've seen some videos where people's been doing some experiments on your landed hooks. Now, obviously, as we know, this is very, very well priced hooks, guys. And people might think, you know what, something's not right. The price is too low, so I'm not gonna go with landed hooks. However, I've been fishing quite a lot with landed hooks. So it's not. So can you give me some more information? Why is it at the price?
I'm going to tell you a different story because then
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat as you. Because I used to be connected to another brand. When I moved to Sensation and had the opportunity to join them as a company, which I'm very thankful for, I needed to test the hooks. I needed to see.
Of course.
I still own landed hooks now, everywhere.
So you still use them?
I haven't seen the difference for my fishing. I'm not the kind of
I'm glad
fisherman
I'm not
you
the
are,
only one.
believe me. But I never broke a hook.
Yeah.
I've never done anything to which didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
I mean, my first crop I ever landed when I came to Cape Town was on a bait holder landed. and it sat perfectly. Now I know you shouldn't be using bait holders, you should be using circles, but I didn't know nothing. I'm a bass fisherman.
Oh, okay.
So landed has impressed me more than what you can realize. You must also understand pricing comes from volume.
Okay.
So if you're buying volume and I'm talking thousands and thousands of hooks a day, it's easy to get to a price point like that.
Of course. Okay. So that's one of your best sellers. Is that what you're saying?
100%. Landed is high volume stuff for us, and it's really, it wouldn't be high volume if people didn't trust it.
So guys, if you're out there, don't be ashamed to use landed. I mean, I use it all the time, and you know, guys,
100%.
normally we go fishing, and whenever we go on fishing trips, we always buy new hooks, even though we have some hooks in the tackle. But I always make sure I do have some extra. And for the price, I mean, why not? I can buy like 5 packets of these for 1 packet of a different brand. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So I'm proud. I'm proud of landed actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
same, yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you something. In my tackle box, I have landed as well. The only difference in my tackle box is in store we're always doing a little trace demo because, like I said, we have a lot of newer anglers coming in, so I quickly show them how to do it. And then I thought initially, the landed is a well priced, let's use it. But let me tell you, so since we do that, we have so many people that come back and say, "But I want that hook." And I want that hook. So it's a brilliant hook. It's once again major bang for buck. So guys, landed. Most definitely, it's highly recommended. Colin, you speak very strongly of it, and it's something that we can relate to our sales because, like I said, we do stats, and that is a brilliant.
And if you relate that to our sales for the last how many years, if there was an issue with these things, surely it would have shown up.
Absolutely.
Okay, this brand, let's say we decide, okay, this circle hook's not working. We would have discontinued it because you can't keep on supplying the market with something that's failing.
Exactly.
And this has been going for years.
No, absolutely.
So, yeah.
So then we've got another brand. So you know, with you guys, it will take all days in a week to go through all your products.
There's quite a bit of line items.
So I just want to get the proper pronunciation here because some customers says I'm looking for the Linux. I say links, and then afterwards I don't know if I need to say Linux or links.
No.
So I just wait for the guy to ask me. I'll say, this packet is quite. So if we speak about, so what is it?
Links.
Links, guys, links and rechts, right?
Links and rechts.
This is a very well priced hook now.
Same process.
Same process.
Same process. And you see that packet you got on there, it actually gets sharpened and tapered in a different way.
Okay.
But the same sort of idea. Volume.
It's just amazing. So I don't want. This is something I need to say, right? So we just see a hook that looks. I see many guys walk in and they're looking at the hook and they say, "I'm looking for a circle." Now they start looking at different hooks, And then you maybe get different circles, and the guys are looking for something that looks quiet, it looks cool. But let me tell you something. I look at this, for example. This is what I would call like a multi-purpose hook. It's not a circle.
It's actually tuned with that. It's a 1053 there. Let me show you something.
Yes, like you see.
Okay. Have you ever been in a
Technical, huh?
have you ever been in or seen a factory that makes hooks?
Never.
No.
Okay, it's quite a nightmare because it happens quickly. All right. So when you're mass producing hooks, and you put them all in the boxes and crates and whatever, they'll numb off their points very quickly because it's steel on steel.
Of course.
So when it says chemically sharpened at the bottom of this thing, there's a process that goes through to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, so it doesn't get numbed off, so your points stay nice and crisp. So when you do get a hookup, it's an easy hookup.
Of course.
This is a carp hook, okay, for which I've been selling lately for all sorts of fish down the coast. Okay, the guys are just laying into this thing, especially the bigger ones, the sort of size 9s like this, I think it is.
So
This
you're
is a
saying
feed.
when we have our okay. So what? So it won't spoil the tips when it's too many hooks. Like if we have one big box with like a whole lot of hooks, does that affect the sharpness of
Okay,
the?
I'm going to tell you a bass fishing story. So bass fishermen drop their hooks per size into little slots in their boxes.
Yeah.
There was a big thing a couple of years ago that they reckon that's the problem. Your hooks can't lay against each other. Okay, because it numbs off the points and your tips get and so on. Let me just say, to put that hook in your boat and you're driving to fish a tournament, whatever, it'll take you years to numb those hooks off.
Yeah.
Okay, so those things are, especially the quality of hooks that you use. One of the biggest bass fishing hooks out there currently, it's not here with us, it's a wide gap called a Power Stage from Hayabusa. This is a Japanese hook.
Okay.
Okay, that's the sharpest thing I've ever found in my life for a bass coming through its mouth and whatever. That hook you won't numb off. I've had some of them for 5 or 6 years in my boat. Okay, where that hook is still, when you touch it, it's still there.
sharp. Oh.
It's still there. And it's because of the process it goes through. All right, you take BKK, which is also lying on the table here.
PKK guys.
Okay, this is also obviously one of our brands, and we have the Glow series for the guys that really do certain things with their baits. It's a fantastic hook, Japanese hook. The process they make it with, the coating they put over it, all add into for you having a better fishing experience. But there's one part of this company which I saw on the internet. I went and looked for their shark hook, and you'll see it says shark on the packet, but it's not a shark hook. It's actually designed according to a great white tooth.
Oh, is that why it's called
shape.
shark? Oh.
That's why it's called shark. But, and now imagine, think about this. You're talking thousands and thousands of hooks going out to the world, out of their factory on a day.
Mhm.
All of the shark hooks, they sit and hand sharpen those things.
Wow.
Okay, so there's a row of people. There's a row of people that sit in an aisle like this.
Imagine that, guys.
And those hooks go into a clamp and you see them go shoom, shoom, shoom. Off.
You know what? That actually reminds me of a story when I was very young at the time. I had a pond, and I didn't have hooks. I tried taking a needle and I heated it.
And you
bent
bent it, yeah.
And I tried catching my goldfish.
That could work.
Okay, but here's a question: did it work?
It worked, and I thought that
Did
because
the goldfish survive?
that's a vibe.
That's survive.
So,
Okay.
I was actually watching a video, and a guy actually made a hook from a nail line.
You could. Same sort of material.
That's
You
crazy.
take your time to do it, yeah.
You know the funny thing about fishing, and this is one thing I'd like to bring into the discussion, is that, wait, before we go there, here is something I'd like you guys to look at this brand, Eagle Claw. Colin, we had a brief discussion. Tell us about this hook, because I just before you even get to it, there's one. Okay, it's not lying here; it's on shelf.
laser sharp.
There's one that is very much shaped to another brand. It is an extremely silver hook. I've used it and I've caught some carbonate, and it's a perfect hook to use with a dingle. And the one thing about that hook is I use that same hook on about 5 or 6 trips, and the hook remains sharp. No rust, and I didn't wash it because I've got this little bucket. So when I take my rod off, and then sometimes I'm lazy, I just cut the trace off, throw it into the bucket, obviously with the bait off because those smells are hectic. And I've just come back and I've just cleaned off the trace quickly, rinse it off, use it again, and I fish with it. I changed the float because the float got a bit hard and contaminated with a previous bait. Tell me a bit about this eagle claw. I think there's a lot of guys that don't know this, but
Okay,
it's not a cheap hook.
It's not a cheap hook, but there's a reason for that as well. So, like we mentioned, BKK comes from Japan. Hayabusa is Japanese hook. This is an American brand, and they pride themselves around the laser sharp point. Okay, so they're ancient. I mean, this is an old company. And the main problem in those days when development started on hooks, and I'm not even talking shapes, I'm just talking development on hooks, was to get the perfect point out of a hook. Because you can see it becomes rather fine in the point there. So it doesn't help you have a fine point and it breaks off. It doesn't help you have a fine point and it goes dull after a while.
Yeah.
So they were one of the first guys to actually get that process correct. Okay, that's why they do very well in their bass side of things, because their bass hooks, fantastic hooks. Okay, and then obviously they spilt over into everything else. What you will see with this hook is the angle of the back on the eye is different to other hooks, and the point bent into this hook. That's why you say dingles, that's why. Okay, it's got a different sort of set. It works perfectly for a dingle. So when you say silver hooks, I've got guys that refuse to use other hooks than those silver hooks, the 197 you're talking about. They're fantastic hooks.
So let me tell you what happened with those silver hooks, right? I took guys out for it was a demo. And we got this line about 70, 80 meters into the water.
Yeah.
And we measured that because, and on that particular day, it was around your summer area into late Feb, and the water was a bit clear that day, right? And when I had there was no bait on. There were just those two silver hooks. And I'm not going to say what type of demo we did. It's just going to be another story for another day. And the next thing is the rod was in my hand, and I was chatting to the guy and explaining to him whatever it was. And the next thing is my rod goes down.
With no bite on it.
Shocked, no bite on it. And when I looked, we saw a bronzy bridge, and he went down and he bridged again, and this was on my line. Those hooks were so silver, and it was two hooks that was close to each other, and it could have emulated something that you would have fed on.
No, I just think you've just sold Eagle Claw for the next 15 years.
I swear.
The hook that needs no bait.
I promise you. Okay, let me rather tell you, at the time when droning was illegal, and I did a demo where I lifted the drone, and I sent it out, and I showed the guy, this is how you do it, drop a loop, and we dropped it. Right? And then I've got to stand and reel this in. So he wants to fly 300 meters. No.
Just fly here.
Yeah, just fly here, drop it here. You can fly wherever you want to, right? And then he flew it out. And then he dropped also around about the 70-meter mark, and I showed him how to do the return to home. And while it was coming back, and I'm looking at him and explaining to him, because with every one unit we sold, we obviously did a tutorial. And it happened there. I was shocked out of my mind. And since then, I've just been chuffed with the hook. So I've got landers, and I've got an Eagle Claws, and of course, this BKKs. So there's a video we did on Island Craft, where we did the glow in the dark bait clinic with that. Quick. And you know what? On 3 occasions, my rod went down, and I had to run, and I was tired. So I thought, now the fish can go. I'm not worried.
49 is not easy.
But in any case, each grab was on that glow, because at the bottom we had your inline, and this is what I used on top. And I'm going to tell you something. It worked, eh? So I go nowhere without it. Even if I take my wife to the shopping mall, I got a pack of this in the van.
Let me tell you, I think your bait presentation, and you as the real fisherman know this, on Monday it will be sardines, Tuesday it will be choco, whatever. But it also happens with your rigs. It could be a floating rig, it could be sitting right at the bottom, it could be your hook glowing, it could be a lot of things. So to get stuck on one hook, I don't think is a good thing for you if you're an avid fisherman. If you have circle hooks in your box, have the different option. Have the eye that lays back, have the straight inline UA that's with BKK, have the glow hook as a backup, And after a while you get trusted, only the glow hook works.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck there.
Yeah.
Because it's going to change.
It's hard, man. Yeah, it's hard. Right?
Yeah, I know it's hard. Believe me,
Especially if it
believe
works.
me, I've got a boat full of tackle, which I always take the first three things out in the same way every time. So I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
So, do you normally go surf fishing, or is it mostly freshwater?
My background is bass fishing. I spent 15 years on the tournaments.
Okay.
I loved it. I still love it, but now I do it as when I want to and how I want to. So I'll put a boat in Teerwaters and go bass fishing when I get a chance, or quaggas or whatever.
Okay, cool. So, how often do you go surf fishing?
So fishing, I haven't been for a while. I must be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Obviously, with your experience, you would know. I was actually asking you, hoping you actually went recently. But
Hey,
just for
you're
you,
looking for a spot. That's
yeah. Look, obviously, we have some fishermen that don't spend so much money. Then we have some that can spend as much as they want. So, what would you suggest as a good combo? A good combo with, when I say combo, I mean like your braid, your reel, your hooks. A good in the pocket combo.
Look,
What
if
would
you
suggest?
go to, I wouldn't say entry level, but if you're going as initial startup kit, something like a Wave Power rod with a Revenger Pro. Wave Power's already got the bionic finger on it.
I think that's the best seller as well.
The
Wave
Revenger
Power.
Pro reel on there, okay, and you put 20 pound or 30 pound, 40 pound Whisper or Slick on, you're happy. Okay, then the hooks you can select, but so most probably go landed.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, get myself waxed, get myself into the game, make sure I know what I'm doing, then I'll step up to an eagle claw and I'll go to a hybrid or whatever. But that's my point. When you go from there, I would go straight into Euphoria. Go Euphoria, use Oars, Euphoria, Selena, that sort of thing.
When you said get myself waxed, that sounded painful.
Well,
I'm just thinking.
a manner of talking.
Okay, so one other thing I'd like to. So we've got our line sorted out. We've got our hook sorted out. The links, not Linux, the link swivels. One of our most popular sellers in this brand is the combination. And if I'm not mistaken, it's between 28 and 34 kilo breaks. Am I right? Am I right?
They're strong, yeah.
Exactly. So there we go, guys. So just in sensation range alone, it's an array of or consortium of angling apparel or terminal that can take you from point A to point Z. And that is the confidence that we have. So this is a very top selling brand. And remember, we're not brand bashing in any which way. But speaking about Sensation, the company alone, and all the brands they have, it's absolutely brilliant that you guys have gone that route. And I know that nationally, and I might get, you can rectify me if I'm wrong, that nationally, salt of freshwater fishing is actually bigger than freshwater fish, saltwater fishing.
Yeah.
So fresh is bigger than salt, and it's huge. In a manner of we thinking, guys are fishing dams, and as a recreational rock and surf guy, we tend to frown a bit upon the sliminess of the river, but believe it or not, it's huge.
If you go sit next to Bloemhof Dam on an Easter weekend, you've struggled to find parking for to put your rods out. So there's 1,000 fishermen there. Okay, which is they spend Easter weekend there. If you go to a bass tournament and it's quite a big tournament, you can sit amongst 90 boats fishing for the day. So it does get hectic. Yeah.
It does. No, it's amazing. And this is the nice thing. And because I've never really worked for a boss before, other than initially with my apprenticeship.
So you're not married?
No, oh, let me just get that right. So other than when I got into real estate initially, I was with the company for a short while to learn the trades about it.
Okay.
And then, of course, qualifying as a motor mechanic, and then taking up fishing as a hobby. And then I realized that I need to do something additional that can pay for my hobby, because fishing is a drug.
For sure.
Whether you're doing saltwater, whether you're doing freshwater, and I'm going to tell you why I say this. We've got gentlemen that sent us rods that came in from Kempton Park area, saltwater. We've got rods that came in from Grabouw, West Coast, Bloemfontein, and over the last 3-4 weeks, we've been sending rods out nationally. The guys are sending me older rods, and we're doing full refurbs and things on there. And when you were speaking about don't keep one type of hook, in your bag. Don't get stuck on the glow, but I got stuck on the glow. A lot of people stick to certain things and they refuse to move away from it, in terms of we've got many multiplier guys that come in here. And I'm fishing for many years, and I'm saying I used to always fish multiplier, but getting into a grinder setup for me was life changing. I will never go back to multiplier now. I use it very strongly. I'll never go back to multiplier. So in terms of many guys coming in to start fishing, it's a very difficult topic, and the two of us touched on it just before we started. Was that, for example, how if I was a newbie guy, I'm 1.69, 1.7 in height. Sell me a rod. I've got a budget of 5,000 rand. Sell me your brand. Sell me your rod. Real. In other words, when I leave here, I would like to just go on a fishing session. Please sell me a rod.
Okay, this is very difficult to do because your cast looks different to mine. So I've got to pick up your tempo. Are you pulling this rod? Are you actually flicking the rod across your hip? So what will suit you? If you're a 1.6 meter guy, which is a short guy, doesn't mean you can't cast a 14-foot rod. If your timing allows it on your cast and your technique allows it, you can cast anything, most probably. Okay, so we spoke about it. I play a bit of golf, and I told you the story about this big guy that played with us. He's over 6 foot, and he couldn't hit a ball 150 meters. Okay, and it's because of his technique, and he's got the latest equipment and all the fancy stuff, but it means nothing to his game. And fishing is the same thing. I mean, I've seen guys cast the carp rods, which was supposed to be the top guys, and I can't get this rod moved. You give him a softer rod, and he gets it out there. So it's going to depend a bit. So if you want me to set you up, and I know you're an experienced fisherman, we're going to go Euphoria's route, and I'm going to set you up with Selena's, because it's going to be an easy adjustment for you to feel the rod or whatever. But if it's a new guy, I would like to see him cast somehow. I would like to see his technique, and maybe give him something softer in the beginning to get his timing right, because a hard rod can be a tricky thing to cast. Okay, if you can pump that rod and you're nice and tall and you've got the work with your shoulders and that sort of thing, no problem. But if you're a new guy, it's maybe easier to start off soft. 2 to 4 ounce, this is what I'm saying. Like 13 foot, 2 to 4 ounce, 14 foot, 3 to 5 ounce. That's the sort of range you want to stick to.
So your answer is absolutely brilliant, and I'm going to tell you from my experience. Guys walking to the store, he says, my buddy told me I must buy this reel and that rod, and I ask him, okay, let's put the reel aside, let's talk about the rod. Why that rod? He says, no, they told me a 15 foot and a 6 ounce sinker is going to get me more distance. I asked him, do you have the strength to whip that rod and pull that 6 ounce sinker?
Yeah.
Because what happens is, and this is something I'd like to share with the guys, are that you concentrate so on the weight of that rod, the length of the rod, and the weight of that sinker, that you're not necessarily concentrating on how you're going to whip the rod, what you're going to do, if you're going to make your sinker send higher, those type of things. There's a lot of technique to it, but it's something that somebody can show you the basics and move on.
Yeah.
So I'll always take the guy, and then I made a bet with this guy, and hear this. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to take you to the beach, and I'm going to take 3 different rods with. I'm going to take my time with. We can get in my vehicle, it's my fuel, everything. I'm going to take 3 rods with. You telling me you want the 15 foot, for example. So I'm going to take a 15 foot. I'm going to take a 14. I had a 13.6, and I took a 13. I even took a 12 with, for that matter, that day. And I took different ounce rating sinkers, and I said, we're going to put nothing else. And we gave him the 15, blah, 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 6 ounce sinker, and the oath throw. He says, this is nice. Then we took him down to the 14 with a 5 ounce sinker, and he threw in, and he says, this really feels better. So I said, no problem, feel this. 13.6, and he whipped it. 13, beautiful. And I said, now just take the 12 and toss it. We spent something like about an hour and a half over there, and this was my deal. I said, if you feel, honestly, I will judge on your reaction on each rod, what the truth is. And if you feel that the combo your buddy told you is the combo for you, you can walk away with it free of charge at the store. Also, be in mind, he might just tell me, no, it is better for me. But we were watching his reaction. Do you know what? That guy walked away with a 13 foot rod, 2 to 4 ounce, exactly like you said.
It makes more sense to me.
It makes more sense. Because I was watching, he's a shortish guy, he's got a timid build, new to angling. And I experienced that for myself many times. It's like you say, it's your stride and your whip with casting. So I had a 14.6 in the brand, and brilliant rod, light, high in the rod. And every time I throw it, I was throwing more skew throws than straight up. But my 14 foot, I could land him straight, whole time, straight, good distance, in fact, even further. So for me, I came down to a 14.6, from a 14.6 to a 14. And my best rods that I throw with in terms of length is a 13.6 and a 14. So it's exactly that bigger doesn't mean further, heavier doesn't mean further.
I have a question.
Ask me.
This 14.6, it kept on going left consistently.
Right.
To the right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a good chance there's two things that's not working. It's most probably part of your guide setup. One. Number two is it's most probably the blank.
So I'm going to tell you what I feel it is, right? When I cast, I'm a shortish guy. And when I cast, I tend to do that because the rod is a bit longer. And when I let go, I'm letting go and the rod is here. Correct. Because once again, I'm thinking I've got to bring this thing over my shoulder. But with a 14 foot, I can work it.
You can work it better.
I can work it, but my my happy rod right now, guys, is my Euphoria. I love it. That rod suits me perfectly.
Okay.
It is.
That rod's also been made lighter.
It is a bit lighter than the Precision, but correct. I'm going to tell you something. My Euphoria loads well. I throw a max of 5 ounce on there. If I put big bait, I even bring my sinker down to 4 ounce. And this is something that we're talking about that we'd like to share. That I'm not saying buy Euphoria, but I'm just saying that if you were to ask me, that would be one of my first choices. It's a rod that whips beautifully. It loads very nicely. And when I let go between my 11 and 12 o'clock, the carry through on the rod, and it's just a very, very smart rod.
I want to share why I'm saying it's the blank on your rod. Sorry, I'm interrupting you there.
No, it's fine.
There's a lot of slow-mo videos that you can actually see actions of rods.
Yeah.
Okay, so some rods, especially if you go, because I had a bass background, you've got a rod, and we do a lot of underhand pitching to trees and to get low cast out, and you can have a rod that goes right the whole time. You can, because you need to hit the size of a cup in the water, so you can't miss. All right, so I'm throwing this thing out because I want to land it in a little piece of open grass, and if you miss it, you basically missed your bite because a fish will be spooked or whatever. So, and you could never hit this thing. And then you pick up the next rod and you put them in one after the other. It's the same thing. And a lot of as the blanks go up in price, that part where it goes left and right goes away. Okay, because it becomes more pure, if you can put it that way. So if you're paying a little bit more for a rod, the pureness will be there.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you won't have that because when it comes over, the tip is going to flick left or it's going to flick right. If it's a little bit better rod and you're getting to that stage where you're spending a bit of good money on these things, that tip actually comes over straight. Okay, that's the one side. And there's another thing. If you want to take the time and look for it, there's some videos out there that shows reels in a like a clamp sort of thing, spooled up with braid under tremendous pressure. And if you put this reel, let's say you're fighting this bronzy, where's this reel's first bend going to be? Where's the movement?
On the wheel, on the bowline.
Over here.
Yeah.
The first movement actually opens down here.
It starts flexing.
It starts flexing, and you'll be surprised to see how much it flexes. And by that, it gets to your gears. It gets to that bearing inside of your roller. Because now this reel's fighting to keep everything on here. Okay. And that's
once again really technical.
So just have a look at, and that's why when you pick up a box, there's a box standing there with a ZXP on your shelf there. Read the box. When you pick up a packet of hooks, read the hooks. Yeah, it says nicely chemically sharpened. There's a reason for that. So a lot of the times we stand in front of a rod, it's beautiful. It's looking, it looks fine. I'm going to look for, me personally buying a rod, what Fuji is on there. And nothing else. If is it Faz Light, is it Sick Happy Days? I want one of those two. Thoughts I can't afford. Yeah. Okay, because it's really expensive. The Euphoria's got a carbon wrap over the whole rod. Is that going to be good for me? Yes, because I'm going to transport this rod. It's going to be in a bag. That carbon wrap helps for keeping the nicks and the bumps off your glass. You know, when I say glass, I mean carbon. So carbon turns into glass if you take it to a high level.
Okay, Colin, listen, man. So I thought I knew it all about fishing. I am the man. When somebody walks in, I'm the man. Ask me anything. So I'm going to have to get you back. So you guys chat. I need 1 minute. I'm going to have to get you back.
Oh, my word.
Okay, guys.
So these tissues for a reason. Right, Colin? So this is
let me just explain to you. If you know my weakness, it's hot food. Okay.
Is that your weakness?
I struggle with hot food.
Okay, well, I struggle to get over what you told me. Okay, it's not hot. It's a pickled item called boar. It's in a pickle. Here you go.
Okay.
Right? We want to try the reaction.
What is boer?
It's actually a type of fruit. There's a pip inside. Please don't chew the pip. All right. So,
Have some boer.
oh
My word.
Colin,
You don't like it?
it came from.
It's got a very nice taste. Starting off with it is very nice, but the rest of it is okay.
All right. So,
Thanks for that.
so this is a
Oh
sweet.
my word.
It's a tamarind sweet. It's not strong at all. It's got some Mexican spice in there. Hold the spice last.
Let's see.
I'm just gonna.
Mexican spice.
No. But it's not. It's not strong. It's not strong at all. So it's open, Colin. Go for it. We're up for the.
Is that a bite of? Is that a what?
You eat it. There's no pips in there. Right. Expression moment, please.
Oh shit.
It's a tamarind sweet. I don't know what flavor it is.
It's called unleaded.
Unleaded.
That flavor.
Colin, with that said,
Oh my word.
from us here at on the couch at Hookit and Lance from Hook and Grill, we'd like to say thank you very much. It was a well done. It was information that I think is much needed out there. So once again, thank you very much. You can be assured that there is more products we will be chatting to you about.
I want to say thank you for the opportunity, but I got no voice to say it in. Yeah, voice. I don't know what that is.
Enjoy. We'll get you
Thank
some
you
orange
for
juice.
the opportunity to sit with you guys. It's good fun.
If there's any information we don't have on a product, especially we're speaking about this particular, the guys know exactly. We'll do that call in front of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Until the next one, Lance.
Guys, also just make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel to see the next episodes that's coming up. Also, it might even be posted on to my channel, which is Hook and Grill. Go over there and subscribe as well. And then also, any suggestions in the comments, please make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what you guys want to see, who you would like to see, and what you would like to know.
And keep those comments positive, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Thanks
Thank you
again.
guys. Appreciate it.